Welcome back to the 76 Capital Sports Leadership Show. My name is Wayne Kimmel, managing partner of 76 Capital, the sports tech venture capital company. And on this show, I interview top sports entrepreneurs, athletes, and executives who are truly shaping and many times changing the overall sports business industry. Today, we're going to talk sports business, as well as the WWE with Claudine Lilien, the Senior Vice President and Head of Global Sales and Partnerships for the WWE. Claudine, welcome to the 76 Capital Sports Leadership Show.
Thank you so much for having me. It's an honor to be here.
Well, Claudine, I had to have you on the show. We had so much fun together out in Las Vegas during CES. You were the star of the show.
Hardly, but I will say you make being on a panel much easier. As my PR team here knows, I get very nervous about being on those panels, and you made it flow a lot more simpler than it normally feels for me. So thank you.
Well, you're welcome, and you were great. I mean, look, the other thing which was amazing was you played that video of all of the highlight reel of WWE, and I mean, I think the whole room was just fired up and excited to, the minute that ended, they were like, people wanted to go and like knock chairs on people's heads and dive off the ring and stuff.
I always say, for us to get champions behind our brand, we have to get people to our events because you need to see it firsthand. And short of being able to do that, I think that sizzle is the next best thing because it really gives you just that feeling of the fandom around the sport in terms of the passion and the brand.
Well, the brand of WWE, what WWE stands for, what it's all about, and just the overall entertainment, value that it brings to, millions and upon millions of people all over the world. It must be fun for you, right, to work at this organization.
Yeah, it's funny because I came from Fox Sports and I was selling NFL and MLB and college football and college basketball and NASCAR. And also WWE SmackDown, which airs on Fox on Friday nights. So I didn't know at first the idea of giving up all of those other sports just to focus on one, how I'd feel about it. And then once I got here, when you feel the passion behind this brand, and I say this often, so the apologies of being repetitive, our mission statement I'm obsessed with because it's just the most simple mission statement. I can't tell you a mission statement from anywhere because I can never remember them. They're always so long and complicated. Ours is so simple, and it's literally to put smiles on people's faces. And when you go to an event or you talk to a fan at whether it's an industry event or somebody who hasn't even followed the sport but watched it as a kid, the passion behind it and the enthusiasm of people wanting to talk about it and ask about it, it just makes it's just a brand I feel really, really proud to represent.
Well, let's talk about the brand. I mean, it's interesting. I mean, we were in Las Vegas together at CES, and you had the WWE booth, and we took that picture with the belts and like that. It's a really, as you said, it definitely puts smiles on people's faces. There's no doubt about it. Young, old. We talk about the different types of people that are fans of WWE.
Yeah, I mean, we speak to everyone, and I always think you have to be careful of trying to be all things to all people. But the fact of the matter is we can be many things to many people. We are, we resonate with families. We obviously resonate with men. We resonate with kids. And something that I think surprises most people is our fan base is actually 60-40 male. So we have a big voice in the female space as well, which I think is so authentic to our brand. And whereas now it's something a lot of brands are talking about that they need to be more vocal in that space with women athletes, we've been doing it for so long. And again, it's just something that makes me feel really, really proud to be here. I was sitting having breakfast with a coworker, and there was a table of family with these two young girls. I mean, they looked around like 8 and 10 years old. And Carmella, our superstar, came down to head over to Royal Rumble early, probably for rehearsal. And these girls took off from their table, running over to her to get a picture, an autograph, and just the excitement when you see that. And it's like, you expect to see it, with certain fans, you expect the young men when you see them standing around. But when you see two young girls running to see a superstar with the excitement that these kids had, it's just, as I said, it's just hard not to get caught up in this brand.
So let me ask you about that specific thing. I mean, that's really fascinating. I mean, so these two young girls, they're running, and what do they want? They want a picture? Do they want to be able to do a TikTok with them? Do they want to be able to, is it an autograph? Like what's the thing that they really want?
It's funny because I've seen a bunch of these things happen. It almost feels like, as corny as this sounds, they just want to be in their presence. Like, sometimes I've seen it happen and they don't take a picture or ask for an autograph. And they walk away looking so excited, like not disappointed that they didn't get what they needed or wanted. I think they just like being in the presence of them, because you look at these women and the men, their athleticism to me is unparalleled in terms of what their capabilities are, of what they do in the ring. And our superstars, and I know a lot of leagues do this, so I don't mean to speak as if we're the only ones, but we believe in community service to our core. It is, there is somebody who oversees it, who reports directly into Stephanie McMahon, who has a seat at the table at every meeting. And the philosophy here is, when we are going in, specifically for our big premium live events like a Royal Rumble, is we want to leave the city we were in better off than when we got there. So there's this true, inherent giving back. And our superstars have it as well. We have superstars who come to the office here. Titus, for example, will come to our office. And when he comes in to speak with me, he's not talking about, hey, can you figure out an endorsement deal for me? He's literally like, these are my community service priorities. This is what I'm doing in the space. Is there anything we could be doing together to help my cause? Not help me, but my cause. And that's something that makes this place, to me, so unique, because it truly, truly cares about that. And not just because it became sort of this hot subject all of a sudden because millennials care about it. This company has always cared about it, and I love that.
Well, that sort of split must really make your job, I wouldn't say easier, because there's nothing easy about selling and being in that position. But I'm sure that the brand and that kind of a split is something that's really helpful in your role, as the SVP and head of global sales and partnerships for WWE.
Yeah, no doubt about it. I mean, it's one of those things where we brought people from cosmetic companies to come see our event, because all you have to do is see the women superstars and their gorgeous hair and their gorgeous makeup. And when we bring these people, these executives backstage, and they see how it all comes together, there's no reason why we shouldn't have a major cosmetic company as a sponsor. So we truly can be talking to categories across every spectrum, and just in terms of who we're resonating with, and that's something that's been a challenge that we are taking on aggressively and want to figure out.
What are some of the brands, or who are some of the brands that you work with today, and how does that sort of play in with the overall experience that fans have with?
Yeah, so we've worked with a bunch of brands. I mean, what we're trying to do is just sort of elevate the level of people we're working with, and work with more and more blue chip brands, which we've been doing. We've been working with P&G. They were launching Night Panther, a new deodorant scent. So we created a WWE superstar called the Night Panther, who ended up getting a permanent spot on our roster, which was, I thought, because of the partnership we did. Talent Relations let me know it was not because of the partnership we did, but that certainly didn't hurt. We've been partnering with Constellation Beers, Victoria, their Mexican beer, aligning them with Rey Mysterio, one of our most popular superstars, who comes from Mexico and was able to, react in social media and tweet in social media in Spanish. We have worked with C4 energy drinks to do stuff in a line where they take our superstars and use them in their creative. So we're really like just, nothing is off limits. We're Pure Life water. We created an integration that we did at SummerSlam, which was in Vegas. And I don't think there are many places hotter than Las Vegas in the summer. So water fight integration felt really relevant and entertaining, and something that we were able to do, as well as giving out sampling of the waters. So, it's really another thing that just makes this place great is our ability to customize. So it's really hard for me to give an example of like, this is the way we work, because it really truly depends on the brand and what the brand's objectives are. We've had Netflix come to us where we partnered with them with Army of the Dead, where we did an in-ring integration with the zombies from the movie, and their makeup and costumes person actually clothed and did the makeup on our superstars, so that it really had not just like that fake feel of trying to be like the movie, but really felt like the movie. We did something around Red Notice, which was another Netflix release that stars Dwayne The Rock Johnson. We did a storyline where he gifted.
Wait, you just call him Dwayne. You're just
we call him The Rock. He gifted Vince McMahon an egg, which was from the movie. As part of our storyline that went from Survivor Series into Raw, and Vince was really excited about being gifted this very valuable egg, and then all of a sudden it went missing, and it was like, which superstar stole it and where is it, and offering a reward to recover it. So we can just have a lot of fun, and I think that really differentiates us from other sports leagues, is the fact that we have the benefit of being scripted, so that we can literally write a brand in a way that's authentic and meaningful. And make sure you're in show content where nobody can skip and miss what we're doing.
That's a really interesting point. I mean, talk about how you can work so closely with brands, and are there situations where brands come to you and say, we want to work with a certain superstar, or do you pitch a certain superstar to a brand, and how does that match work?
Yeah, it's interesting. I thought people would come to us more aggressively with the superstar they want. What I've noticed is people a little bit more open to, latching onto our expertise, and I certainly don't mean mine, but the expertise of WWE and our executives to figure out what the right match is. So like a Rey Mysterio makes perfect sense for Victoria Beer. We did something with our superstar Miz with P&G's Pampers, because Miz has young children. So perfect alignment. So it's really because we have about 250 superstars in our roster, it's really unlikely that we won't have somebody that aligns with your brand and your values and who you're trying to talk to.
Well, certainly that's an important thing for you within your role.
Yeah.
And how has this been? It's been basically a short amount of time that you've been in WWE. You've been in this in the world of sales and selling across the sports world and the media industry for a while. What's from your perspective? What's the overall feeling? The overall, what is it like to be working in at WWE versus some of the other places that you've worked? I mean, I remember one of the things you mentioned to me when we were in Las Vegas was just how there's just always so much going on, and there's and is that something that's you still sort of feel that way?
I mean, we are not a sports league in the sense of we have just one season. We are a sports league that is on 52 weeks a year. So there is no off time. I mean, so we are, this is 24/7, and the passion behind it it's just, it's contagious. It's hard not to get caught up in it. And, one of the things I love also about being here is just under Stephanie McMahon, our chief brand officer, and Nick Khan, our president and chief revenue officer, just the passion and the access they provide to us, in that good ideas can come from anyone or anywhere. I remember I had just an idea that had nothing to do with sales, and I texted Nick and Stephanie about it, and I was like, I know this isn't my place being in sales. And the first thing Nick wrote back to me was like, I don't ever want to hear you say that again. Good ideas come from everyone. And basically they heard me out and they said, email this person, copy us. And it didn't go anywhere for good reason. But the fact that I was able to have my voice heard and that they care enough shows me that this place is always going to keep growing, because I think where places get themselves in trouble is when you get so arrogant that you think you know it all. And that just doesn't exist here. There really is an open line of communication, of wanting to hear from everybody, of not being territorial about the work, and being supportive of each other.
That's awesome. That's awesome. So I'm curious how the relationship really got started with you. I mean, you were and WWE. I know you were at Fox, and were you working very closely with WWE while within that relationship? Is that how things got started here?
Yeah, so I was at Fox. I spent a lot of years at Fox. I was currently at that time in Fox, in Fox Sports, and the head of Fox Sports Sales had asked me if I would help get client direct, because they were still dealing with some preconceived notions of WWE not being clean. It's PG. It's been PG for over 10 years, but we do wrestle, no pun intended, with that misinformation that people have from back in the day. So he asked me to get to clients directly to talk about it. And in doing so, I became somewhat versed in the brand, and I, can't help but get hooked when you start watching it. And part of it was the head of Fox Sports Sales said to me, I really should know Stephanie McMahon. And it was during COVID, so I reached out to her. We set up a lunch, and we had lunch, and she's, I don't want to sound like a kiss ass, because she's obviously my boss, but she's so incredible. She's so bright. She's got great insight, and she's just a cool person who you want to hang out with. And I had this incredible time, and I kind of opened up to her just about personal career frustrations and asked her for some guidance. And after the lunch, I was kind of like, ooh, maybe I shouldn't have done that. Like, I shouldn't have gone personal, because, we have a business relationship together, the two properties. She couldn't have been more supportive. And I don't even know if it was a week and a half, 2 weeks later, she reached out to me to let me know they made some changes in her sales organization and that she wanted to bring me over. So it was kind of like, oh my God, I don't know, everything just sort of aligned, and it felt like the right thing to do. And you get to a stage in your career, like for me at my age, where you start to feel like you're not learning anymore. And can you still be learning? And that was sort of the rut I think I had fallen into. Coming here and seeing the way she leads, the way Nick Khan leads, the way Vince McMahon runs his company, I just feel like I am learning so much every day. And that's exciting for me. That makes things not feel stale. And, I know people always talk about mentors and who should mentor you and all that. And I do a lot of mentoring. I'm very involved at Lafayette College, where I went to school. I host students every year, pre-COVID, where they shadow you and can learn about careers. And one of the main things of advice I always tell people is take what you can from different people. I mean, I've had people who I've officially asked to mentor me who've actually really disappointed me. I've had other people who I've never officially asked who just took me under their wing and just did it out of their own kindness. And it's a tricky balance of finding that out. But I also, at my age and stage of my career, realized it's not just about looking up for mentors, because obviously you always want, most people want to keep getting ahead and who can make me go further in my career. But it's also talking to the people who are just starting out in their careers, talking to people who are millennial and Gen Z. And I feel like we use those terms so loosely that they get to be a little nauseating. But the fact of the matter is I have some really good friends in those generations, and they have helped me just as much as the people who've helped me who are, above my pay grade in career. And that's because they let you know what's really going on. They let you know what people are really thinking, which enables you to address problems, to make things better, as opposed to when people are fearful of sharing that that news upwards. as well as just how to communicate. I didn't realize that if I put a period at the end of my sentence, somebody who's millennial might read that as me being aggressive towards them. And that was never my intent. I want to get the best work out of somebody. I'm not looking to scare the crap out of somebody. So just, learning all of those little nuances to make myself and keep myself relevant, I think is really, really important to do in your career. At least it has been for me.
Well, Claudine, you just taught me something. I shouldn't put a period in the end of a sentence.
Yeah, you got to be careful.
I mean, when you think about all the things that you've learned over your career to date, are there some other things maybe that you can also share with kind of the next generation of aspiring sports executives? Some things that you've learned that have really helped you get to where you are today.
Yeah, I mean, I think the culture when I started at Fox, and I noticed it's the culture here as well, is no job is too small for anybody. You have to be able to really, it's cliche, but you've got to be willing to roll up your sleeves, get your hands dirty, and not act like you're above something or beyond something, because it takes really hard work to be successful, and you have to be successful as a team. One of my early bosses, Gene Rossi at Fox, taught me something that was important, that you don't even realize it, but most of us, I went in there and I said, I this, I that, and she looked at me and she goes, we. And I was like, oh my God, that's so obvious. And so you don't even realize how off-putting it sounds to say, I did this and I'm going to do that. And, a lot of people do it, myself included, until I was corrected. And now I try to be really careful about saying, we did this, we recommend this, we that, because everything we're doing is because of other people. We can't succeed alone. We can't really fail alone. You need the support of everybody with you. So I would say that's an important one. I think just, finding advocates in the workforce is always really helpful. I think championing your peers and helping each other out. If you have a friend who you're working alongside with and you can let other people know what a great job and how hard they've been working, is a nice, kind thing to do for somebody else that doesn't necessarily get the favor returned to you, but hopefully in the same situation, they will do the same for you, and championing each other. I think we have to be comfortable championing for ourselves. I find, I don't want to make it stereotypical, but I find it seems to be harder for young girls to speak up about the work that they're doing and the successes they've had, and just to feel comfortable it's not bragging, it's advocating and making sure people are aware of the things you're doing. And there's a fine line. You don't want it to seem like you're bragging, but you do need to make people aware of the work you're doing and what you're accomplishing if you want to keep moving forward and getting ahead.
That's some really great advice, and appreciate you sharing that, with us. And I think, it's interesting. You think about kind of what's next in the world, and one of the things that we all have to, many cases, deal with, and in certain situations have to use to our advantage and do things the right way is the world of social media. And I'm sure that with some of the different brands that want to work with WWE, they want to do certain things potentially on social media versus maybe what you want to do. I mean, how do you balance there's so many issues there, but how do you balance everything that's going on within the world of social media today?
Yeah, I mean, we have an incredible team who manages our social media. We have, at the risk of sounding braggy, over 1 billion followers across social media. So we are authentic, and the thing that I like about our strategy at WWE is that we personalize it for each platform. So we know there's a different audience for Twitter than there might be for Instagram or TikTok. And because we understand that, we're able to, become very quickly the leading sports brand on TikTok. What I would say is how we help brands. It can work with brands. It's interesting. I found a lot of brands, because we've been so successful in the space, do come to us and are open to our feedback, our direction, and how we want to do it, because they know we have such a loyal following with our superstars that we can be authentic in that space and get their brand messaging across in a way that will appeal to our fans and not put them off.
Are there new types of technology, or there new types of things that you're trying to integrate into what you do at WWE today that you can share with us?
Yeah, so I would say one of the biggest things coming out of the pandemic was we really ramped up our AR capabilities. What we did was we took many of our superstars, and for their entrances, we integrated augmented reality, like so for Roman Reigns, for Randy Orton, for Bianca Belair. So for example, Randy Orton, who is known as the Viper, we were able to create an arena where fans don't just see the video board of him, but you basically hear music and you see what this visual Viper coming up on screen. That's really compelling when you're watching it. So I would say that was something that the pandemic sort of forced us to speed along, because we weren't able to do our live events with audiences there. And as we all know, fans play a huge part in our events. So that was definitely missed. We also created a Thunderdome where we were able to bring our fans into the arena on screen, and just the passion and the enthusiasm. And, everybody likes to see themselves on TV. So certainly, your little screens could actually show up, on a SmackDown, on Raw. So that was a lot of fun. And again, something that, probably we would not have done had it not been for the pandemic. But just the ability to solve, to know that our fans are an important part of our show. And if we don't have them there, it's missing something. So how can we solve for that? We also are working currently with Snapchat, doing something around AR with them as well. And yeah, I would just say the thing about WWE is we always like to be ahead of the curve, but the way it's been phrased to me, which I agree with, is sometimes you can be too far ahead of the curve that you miss it. And it becomes a blown opportunity. We get ahead of the curve, but not too far ahead of the curve. And that's really what we always try and do.
It makes a lot of sense. I mean, it's so important to make sure that you're always there. You don't want to be sort of on the bleeding edge, because that's not always the right place to be. But exactly, it's a lot of things that we do at 76 Capital, where we try to be very, very early, try to be innovative with opportunities and some of the companies that we get involved with, but then have them be ready for when it's time and when the world's ready for them.
No doubt about it. And I think NFTs is another perfect example where we've become active in the space. We did a test run around a couple of our superstars where it just took off. So we did a relationship with Fox, with their NFT division, so that we could do something much broader in the space. So we're there, and we're ready to take advantage of, not take advantage, that sounds terrible, but really be in the space and be where our fans want us to be with merchandise that they want, that they crave.
Claudine, this has been so much fun. We're starting to wrap up our 76 Capital Leadership, show with you, and I just. It's been so much fun, and I have one last question before we wrap up. But I also want to make sure that everyone goes out and follows Claudine. Follow Claudine on Twitter at Claudine Lilien. She's a great follow. I mean, you could learn about a lot of things. I mean, look, you talk about not only a WWE employee and fan, but worked at Fox, as you've talked about, fan of the Jets, the Rangers, the Yankees, UFC, Bernese Mountain Dogs. I mean, we could talk about dogs. I mean,
let's do it.
Do you have a couple, or what's?
I had a Bernese Mountain Dog, and she passed away, and still not over it. It was hard.
Man. So sorry.
But dogs are the best.
Well, I mean, it's really been incredible spending time with you on the show, and I would just say, one of the things that is just. Is there anything that you can share with us, because one of the things that certainly we talk about a lot on our 76 Capital Sports Leadership Show is we've touched on a number of things today on the technology side, on the social media side of things. Is there anything exciting or something that you could potentially preview that could be that's maybe coming down the pike for over the next couple months that we should keep our eyes out on for?
This place plays things close to the vest because we love to surprise and delight. So what I would say is if you're looking for a surprise, you definitely want to watch our events. For example, at Royal Rumble, we just had Ronda Rousey return, which, the crowd went crazy. And you're going to always see that. From a business standpoint, there's nothing I can announce right now, but we're in active conversations, in the betting space. We are very active in free to play with our partner DraftKings currently. But as gambling is opening up state by state, we are exploring, possibilities of how we can enter that world. We're not there yet. It is certainly not my place to announce anything when we are there yet. But that would be my tease, in terms of where we're going.
Can I ask you a follow-up on that? You talk about DraftKings. You talk about as a partner. What is that partnership today?
So the partnership today is they are our free-to-play partner. So when you're watching our events, you can go in and sign up with DraftKings and make your choices, but without putting up any of your money. Oh, and you know what? The other thing I would add is a big opportunity for us. And again, I'm not saying it's okay because I don't have the approval, but we're clean. When you look at other, sporting leagues with rings, you might think, wow, they have a lot of logos in that ring, without mentioning names. WWE, our ring is completely clean, and we would love to explore the possibility of finding someone to do the right thing with. We want it to be meaningful. We want it to stand out. We want it to look good on air. We want it to look good for whoever we partner with, consumers. But as I said, we're 52 weeks a year. So whenever your brand is looking to have a voice, and that would be a game changer for us because we've never done it before.
I mean, WWE, the 76 Capital ring. I don't know. We got to talk to some people about this.
We should. I love it.
We may have to have a really important meeting about this.
Yeah, no doubt. We're in.
Well, I really appreciate the time. It's been amazing, reconnecting, seeing you. And we had it was such a great time in Las Vegas when we did the panel out there. We were very fortunate to meet each other, and I'm happy we got an opportunity to do this today, and wish you the best of luck and hope that this 2022 is an amazing year for you personally as well as WWE.
Thank you so much, Wayne. I'm so glad I met you. It's been such a pleasure. Thank you.
Absolutely. Thanks so much for joining this episode of our 76 Capital Sports Leadership Show. Wow, we have an amazing guest. Super excited. Thank you for being here. And look, we'll stay tuned for more great guests, but we had a good one this time. We had a really good one. Thank you so much. Have a great day, everybody.